Today we are going to talk about area of triangles and trapezoids. Here we are given the formulas for finding the area of triangle and trapezoid. Here's our formula for area of triangle right here. It is 1/2 base times height. Now if you don't like it that way, you can always look down the next one. Base times height divided by 2. They mean the same thing. I just like the second one a little bit better. For a trapezoid, we have area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 in parentheses, so that has to be done first, times the height. If you don't like that, we have a secondary formula. Base 1 plus base 2, we have to do that first because it's in parentheses, times height divided by 2. So that 1/2 just means divide by 2. Now, we're given two different examples right here. This is our trapezoid, and this is our triangle. Notice, each of these has the height going down the middle, and the base is on bottom. Now, the base is what makes that right angle right here. Now, on the trapezoid, it's the same thing. We have our base here and here. There's two bases on a trapezoid. The height comes down and intersects, and it makes that right angle right there. It also makes a right angle right here. That's how you know your bases. So the base and height must always form a right angle when they intersect. Again, I want to point out that in a trapezoid, base 1 and base 2 has to be done first. That has to be first. And you know your bases based on the right angle that is formed by the height connected to the base. Here we have 6 different shapes, and we're going to identify the base and the height. Now, for the base, I'm going to use red to color code it. And for the height, I'm going to use blue. So looking at this first structure right here, we are given a trapezoid. Now again, the bases is where it intersects with the height to make the right angle. So we can see right here, we have that right angle. So I'm going to highlight our base in red. And remember, a trapezoid has two bases, and those are always parallel to one another. And then our height right here is what intersects them. Now moving over to the triangle. Again, our height is what makes a right angle with our base. So I'm going to highlight our base in red and our height in blue. Moving on to the next shape, we're given another triangle. Remember, the right angle is what tells you the base and the height. So I'm going to have my base be this, and my height be this. Moving on to our next shape, we are given a triangle. Okay, this one's a little tricky. We need to notice that if we followed this that we would assume is the height, it does not make a right angle. It's an obtuse angle. Over here is an acute, and up here is an acute. So we don't have a right angle. So we actually have to find that tallest point of the structure, and we have to make that line down. And notice, now we have our right angle. So our base is still the same. It's the bottom that makes that right angle. And our height is not actually going to be a part of the triangle. It's going to be this outside. Moving on to the next triangle right here. Remember, our base connects with the height, which is right here, to make that right angle. So our base in red at the bottom, and our height is going to be in blue. Moving on to our last structure is a trapezoid. So remember, our base and height are determined by these right angles right here. On a trapezoid, there's always two bases, and they are parallel. So here's base 1, and here's base 2. Our height is what connects them, making those right angles. So remember, to determine base and height, you have to find that right angle. So now we're actually going to find the area of a triangle. We've practiced base and height. Now we just need to put it into practice. So given this triangle right here, we remember to find our base and height, we find this right angle. So I'm going to highlight our base in red and our height in blue. Now let's identify the base. The base was 3 centimeters. Identify the height, that would be 4 centimeters. Now we need to substitute the numbers into the formula and solve. So our base was 3, our height was 4, and then we have to divide by 2. So we know 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. So our area equals 6 centimeters squared. Whenever you find area, you have to square the units, or else the answer would not be correct. So area equals 6 centimeters squared. Now here's our trapezoid. Again, we need to identify the bases and the heights. So we highlight our bases. Remember, the bases is what connects to the height to make that right angle. So here's our bases. And our height, again, makes that right angle with the bases. So we have to now identify the bases. One would be 8, and the other would be 6. So let's call 8 base 1 equals 8. Let's call base 2 as the 6. Now we have to identify the height. The height would be 4. And go ahead and put h equals. Now we need to substitute the numbers into the formula and solve. So we have base 1, which is 8, plus base 2, which is 6, times our height of 4, and then we divide by 2. So first off, we have to do 8 plus 6, and that is 14, times it by 4, and then divide by 2. Now we can do these in any order now that it's all multiplication or division. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 2 first to get 2. And then we still have to do 14 times 2, which would be 28. Now, since we don't know the unit of measure, we are just going to write units squared. Again, on area, you have to have units squared. So if it's not given, just write units squared.